right, welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show on News Talk 95.1 FM, 790 AM KFYO. Let's head to the phones, and joining us, Texas State Senator Bob Hall. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Chad. I'm doing just great. How are you doing today?
Doing wonderful. Before we get into one of the reasons why you're on with us today to talk about a piece of legislation in the Capitol discussing Tesla and other car makers, let's just talk about the overall session first. How do you think things are going so far?
Well, I think they're going about as usual. Since there is no usual session, it's falling right in line with it. Got a lot of challenging issues this session. Not having as much money as last year kind of puts a different box around what can be done and how we go about doing it. And so it's presented a bit of a challenge, but I think both the legislature is up to it. It's just one of those things you kind of have to work through and get the various approaches. Everybody's got a good solution. It's just coming to one that we can agree on, and I think we're moving in that direction.
What do you think? The House. I know they recently passed their budget. The Senate has a very different version of the budget. What do you think we're going to end up with at the end? Do you think we're going to be tapping into the rainy day fund at the end of the day?
I think we're going to find that we don't have to do that. While we're short some money, we're not. This is not like 2003 or some past times when the well was almost dry. It's just a matter of coming about and getting the priorities straight. But I think we've looked at it real strong. There are folks that would like to use the rainy day fund because there are people that just don't believe we need to have a rainy day fund, and they focus on trying to spend it every chance they get. I think there are some of us who recognize that it's not just the state that needs that fund, but the counties and cities that have debt out there. They want this high bond rating to keep the interest rates down. So it's very important that we maintain that the fund. And I think the Senate put together a bill that works without getting into the rainy day fund. So I think we can come out of it without doing that.
Visiting with Texas State Senator Bob Hall. Let's talk about a piece of legislation. It's an interesting piece of legislation that hasn't garnered too many headlines. I think there was one in the Houston Chronicle last week or week before last, and it deals with auto companies, specifically Tesla. In the last two sessions, they've tried to get legislation through that would allow them to sell directly to consumers. They don't have dealerships like Ford and Chevy. They want to sell directly to the consumer, and in Texas, you can't do that. Tell us about a piece of legislation that you have that would maybe solve that issue.
Well, it's kind of like doing what most of the other states have done. Now, we're only one of 4 states left that have the restrictions in free markets when it comes to automobiles that we have here in Texas. So it's not like Texas is plowing new ground or is a pioneer in this. So we're kind of playing catch up for the citizens to have a free market, and that's really all it does. We have a lot of laws on the books that have been there for a long time that were crafted over a long period of time, each time specifically to bring protection to one part of the market at the expense of the consumers or another part of the market that defines something that's very restricted. And this really just kind of opens it up and says, let's let the free market take over here and see, let the benefits go to the citizens.
Well, and your piece of legislation, would it allow everyone in the auto industry to sell directly to consumers, or does it just single out Tesla?
No, it's the last session we had what was referred to as a carve-out bill. It was one that, since there was so much opposition from the other manufacturers, they came up with the idea was, well, let's just limit this to a single manufacturer and see how that goes. And that's not a good way. Carve-outs that's not free market. It's not a good way to do it. So we took a look at it, and what we have says just open the market up. Just let there be competition. Pretty much like similar to what some of us would like to see happen in the local transportation industry, that which refers to as the Uber phenomenon, to take away government restrictions and let the free market decide. And
right.
So that's what we're looking at. This would open it up. That would allow, all of the industry to decide what's best for them, and then the citizens as they go through spending their money and deciding who's providing what value for what dollars would shape the market, as opposed to legislation dictating the market.
Dealerships, the last time or the last session, car dealerships were very much against any kind of legislation like this. I assume they are this time. How have laws that are similar to what you're trying to get through in the Texas Senate and in the Texas legislature, how have similar laws affected dealers in other states? Like you said, Texas is only one of 4 states that hasn't done something like this. So how's it affected other dealers?
They're all working just fine. They haven't gone out of business, hasn't restructured it. They've made the adjustments to it. It doesn't really change a whole lot. You still have all the functions that need to be performed by a dealer. It doesn't. You're not going to get start all of a sudden having FedEx deliver automobiles to a doorstep.
Hey, don't count Amazon out. Okay,
no,
they might start doing it.
Listen, I don't count Amazon out for anything. But they'll have drones delivering them one day. Probably.
That's right.
But no, it's business has gone on. The automobile manufacturers and dealers are still providing the services they do. Each one has something different to do, and I think the manufacturers will continue to recognize that there's a difference between them and their dealerships. They went with dealers because each state is different, each community is different, and you dealers are successful there by adapting their sales techniques and their services to the community that attracts businesses, and the manufacturers do a good job of building a good, reliable automobile, and those are 2 different functions. And so it's not, I just don't see the average other manufacturers all of a sudden building dealerships and replacing them. I just think that's just a concern that has no basis for it. But it's natural to expect that the dealers to be concerned about that. But I think life for them in Texas for many years to come will not change. And we're talking about an industry, though, Chad, that we're not that far off from having significant changes in our personal transportation systems.
Yeah.
This issue of autonomous automobiles is going to have a much bigger impact on the industry itself than this little bill will. This will be insignificant compared to what we're going to see when we have the majority of the vehicles on the road that are being sold are autonomous. It's going to change the landscape completely.
We're visiting with Texas State Senator Bob Hall. I know that our former governor, Rick Perry, he was all for this. What about Governor Abbott? What about Senate leadership and House leadership? Where do you think everybody is on this?
Well, I think this is a conservative issue. This is an issue it was overwhelmingly passed in the Republican convention as a plank in the platform, with 90-something% of the people voting for it to go to free markets. So I haven't had direct conversations with any of them on it, but I would just say they're all good conservatives with free market principles driving a lot of what I see they get behind. So I have no doubt that they would be supportive of this concept.
Well, what is the status of your legislation right now?
We are awaiting a hearing on this in Business and Commerce.
All right. Well, we hope to be kept up to date on this, and if it does move forward, which I think it should move forward, if it does move forward, we'd love to have you back on to give us an update.
Sure. Be glad to, Chad, anytime.
All right.
Glad to do it.
Appreciate it. Texas State Senator Bob Hall. As always, appreciate your time, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, and God bless you. Bye now.
All right, Chad Hasty Show, News Talk, KFYO, talking. This is an issue. It's popped up the last 2 legislative sessions. Has not been very popular because there's a lot of money against it. But if you think about it, it makes sense to allow Tesla or anybody, if they want to sell directly to the consumer. I think it benefits the consumer to allow that to happen. So sounds like a good idea to me.